Hi, welcome to Fusion Beads. Today in this technique video, I'm going to show you how to make a messy wire-wrapped bail using wire and top-drilled pendants. So let's take a look at the tools and products we'll need to do this technique. In this second video in the messy wire wrapping series, you will learn how to use wire and top-drilled pendants to make a messy wire-wrapped bail, along with the tools that are used. By the end of this video, you'll be able to make a messy wire wrap bail to create a pendant that can be used in earrings and necklaces. So let's take a look at the tools that we will need. The tools that you will need to create a messy wire wrap bail are chain nose pliers. You can either use the long nose or the short nose, round nose pliers, and some good flush wire cutters. Okay, let's take a look at the products that we'll need. So to make a messy wire wrap bail, you are going to want to have wire and a top drilled pendant. For my wire today, I'm just using 26 gauge artistic wire. And artistic wire is pretty good for the messy wire wrap bail because it's already dead soft. If you don't use artistic wire, I would recommend using sterling silver dead soft wire, or you could also use fine silver, which is already dead soft. The reason you want it to be dead soft is because you're doing a lot of kind of freeform organic wraps, and the dead soft wire will lay a lot nicer next to each wrap than a half hard wire will. You still actually can make a bail with the half hard wire. It's just going to be a bit more springy, and it's probably not going to lay down nicely like this one is. So I'm just using the 26 gauge today because I wanted the finer gauge of wire for my delicate crystals. But you could definitely use 24, 22, or even 20 gauge to create this look. Just mind that the thicker the wire, the chunkier the look it's going to give you. Crystals are great for this technique, but you could definitely use gemstones or really any kind of top drilled pendant. Even glass daggers would work with this look. So I'm going to get set up and I'm going to show you how to do this. So to begin your messy wire wrap bail, what you're going to want to do is you want to cut about a foot of your wire. And the reason that you need that much wire is, as you can see from this example here, it takes quite a bit more wire to do a messy wire wrap bail than it does to do a traditional bail. And that's why artistic wire is a great wire to use, because it's more economical than, say, sterling silver or fine silver. So I'm going to go ahead and cut about a foot of wire off of my spool here. So I'm going to trim that off, set my wire aside. I'm going to set my little example aside there too. So I'm going to take one of the top drilled pendants and I'm just going to string it on the wire. And I'm going to want to leave about 1 inch to 1.5 inches on one side, and then I'm going to leave the rest of my main wire on the other side. So after I have that in there, I'm just going to take my fingers and I'm just going to push the wire up so that it's sitting next to the edge of the crystal there. And then continue with my fingers. I'm just going to push those wires down to create a cross there. So I've got a little cross section. So at this point, I'm going to pick up my chain nose pliers and I'm going to take the tip and I'm going to grab that short wire and I'm going to bend it at a 90-degree angle, and then I'm going to take the long wire and I'm going to bend it straight up. So they got your little cross there. Then I'm just going to turn it around here. So then you take your chain nose and you're going to grab right where that wire crosses, right above the crystal, making sure to be careful not to actually grab your crystal, because you don't want to snap the top off of there. So you want to just grab that wire, make sure you grab both wires there as it crosses. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this tail wire and you're going to wrap it around your main wire just about 2 times. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's really just to secure it so the crystal does not slip off. So you just take that tail wire and you just want to make sure that you do wrap it as close to your chain nose as possible. So wrap it 1 time and then just a second time for good measure. Then you'll want to take your wire cutters and you're going to want to trim that tail as close to the working wire as possible, but obviously taking care not to cut your working wire. So I'm going to set my tail aside So now at this point, I only have one wire left to work with. And if your tail's kind of like sticking out there a little bit, I can see that that just needs to be tucked in. You just want to take your chain nose pliers and go ahead and just tuck that in there. So at this point, I'm going to grab right above the crystal and like right kind of below the wraps there. And then I'm just going to push my wire over to make a 90-degree angle above those wraps. So now I've got my 90-degree bend there. So now I'm ready to take my round nose pliers and to create the loop. So to do that, you're going to take your round nose pliers and you're going to put it right in that bend. You're going to take your wire that you have, you're going to roll it back over your round nose pliers. Don't take your pliers out, you just rotate them. So see, you've kind of created like a half little lollipop there. You rotate them and you continue to wrap to create a full loop. So at this point, you just have your little loop there. So I'm just going to get that guy a little bit out of the way so it's a little easier to see. And now you're going to take your chain nose and you're going to grab that loop. You want to make sure you grab both sides to kind of hold on to it for stability. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this main working wire and we're going to wrap it down the wire that is showing there and over the top of the bead. Because you want to kind of cover where the wire's coming through there, through the top drilled part. I think it's best if you kind of cover everything. It just makes a nice look there. So in an organic freeform fashion, I'm going to just take my working wire and I'm just going to start to wrap down. And I kind of start to wrap down. So it helps to build a little bit of stability on the wire. And then as you get close to your crystal, you'll just want to catch it with that wire. Because sometimes it can be kind of hard with the pendants because they do, obviously you can see it wants to sit like that. But then once you go around and catch it one time, then it will set up a little bit better and it's easier to continue to wrap. So I'm just going to continue to wrap, going down and going up. And after I have it, a few wraps like that, sometimes I'll just take my chain nose pliers and set those aside. Because sometimes at this point, it's a little bit easier to just hold onto it with your finger and continue to wrap down. So you're just wrapping in a very organic, freeform fashion. Just making sure that you're covering all your wire so that you don't see like any little, you can't see through the crystal or anything there. I can see a few more spots. I'm just going to continue to wrap. And see, as you can see, we ended up using almost all that wire. We just have a little tiny bit left. And as you're wrapping it around, that is work hardening it. So the more wraps you do, it's going to get a little bit harder to wrap. But this is dead soft wire, so it's going to be pretty forgiving for quite a few wraps. So now that I've got this wrapped, I want to take my wire cutters and I'm just going to trim off that tail as close to the wraps as possible. I'm going to set that aside. And then you can always take your chain nose and kind of adjust that loop because sometimes it's going to get a little wonky. And you also can take your chain nose and tuck in that tail if you need to. So I've gotten one done there and I want to do one more example to show you. So I'm going to wrap my second pendant here. So again, just start with about a foot of wire. Trim that off. Then you want to take your wire and you want to take your pendant and you're just going to thread it on to the wire. Now I'm just going to flip it over because I work better this way. You're going to want to leave about 1 inch to 1.5 inches on one side and then the rest of it, the wire on the other side. You just want to take your fingers and you're just going to push that wire up so that it folds up against the top of the pendant. Then, keeping your fingers there, then you're going to want to bring your other finger and just push those wires down so that it creates a cross right at the top of that pendant there. Then at this point, you're going to want to take your chain nose and you're going to want to grab the short tail wire and bend it at 90 degrees to the side, and then you're going to want to bend the main working wire straight up. So you're really just kind of cleaning up that cross a little bit there. So then you take your chain nose and grabbing right above the crystal where those two wires cross, just want to grab right there. Then you're going to take that tail wire and you're just going to wrap it twice around your main working wire. And the reason you do this is so that your crystal doesn't fall off. It's so it's nice and secure. Again, this wrap is going to be covered, so it doesn't necessarily have to be pretty. You want to take your wire cutters. You're going to want to trim off that tail as close to the wraps as possible. So now you've just left with one wire at this point. So then you want to take your chain nose pliers, and I always like to grab right above the crystal, but kind of right below the wraps, because I like my loops to be pretty close to the top of my pendant. You could grab above the wraps and then fold over and create your loop. It's just going to make a little bit taller of a pendant there. So you're just going to fold that over with your finger so that now you've got it at a 90-degree bend. Then you're going to want to take your round nose pliers and you're going to want to put them in that bend to create your loop. And to do that, you want to roll the wire back over the top of the pliers. Without removing your pliers, you're going to want to rotate them to the side. So see, you've got just this little loop right there. You want to rotate and then continue to loop until you create a completed loop. So now we've got the loop there. Now at this point, you're going to want to take your chain nose and you're going to want to grab that loop to hold on for stability on both sides. And you're just going to take this working wire and you're going to wrap down towards the pendant and then wrap back up in an organic freeform fashion to create the messy wire wrap bail. So I'm just going to start wrapping down. And I like to start wrapping from the top and then going down. It helps to build a little bit of stability on the wire. And then I come down and I just catch that crystal. And it does feel very wobbly in your hands. Don't think you're doing anything wrong. It's just the nature of the wire. But if you just keep wrapping, everything gets nice and stable in there. And again, I go up and then I go down. I just kind of really just wrap however I'm feeling to cover my crystal. All you want to do is make sure that you're covering everything that you can't see, like any crystal or anything in between there. So I feel like this one's pretty good at this point. So I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to cut that tail as close to the wraps as possible and set that aside. Now, as you can see, like once you first get done, your loop might be a little wonky. So you just want to take your chain nose pliers and you're just going to want to just bend it and get it centered back on top of that pendant. And there you have created a messy wire wrap bail. So you could take these two little pendants here and put them on an ear wire or a jump ring and they would make really cute little earrings. Or you could thread some chain through those loops and just have it as a pendant on a necklace. Thank you for checking out our second video in our Messy Wire Wrap series. If you haven't seen our first video in the Messy Wire Wrap series, be sure to check that out. It was the Messy Wire Wrapped Bead.